Welcome back, everybody, to another dicondissectional production hosted by Deathstroke9. Today we're going to be reacting to David Bowie, Space Odyssey. I'm very excited. This is my first reaction to any song by David Bowie. I'm pretty much completely unfamiliar with this artist. I've heard his name many times, but for whatever reason I've never, as far as I know, I don't think I've ever heard any song by him. So the other day I made a community post and asked you guys what are some David Bowie songs I should check out. Not unanimously, but almost most of your responses included this song. A lot of responses also included the song Heroes. Those might be the two that I do. I might end up doing a third, I don't know. But I really want to do an album by David Bowie because a lot of people have told me he's a very, very interesting artist who makes lots of really cool, creative, innovative music, who was always like ahead of the curve and always reinventing himself. I love all of those descriptions, so all that sounds very interesting to me. But at the same time, I want to do I want to do an album by him, but there's so many albums, There's so many different albums that I want to check out, and making the reactions to the full albums a lot of times takes longer than I have to make these videos. So we'll get there eventually, I think, but it'll be a minute. But anyway, let's get into this. If you're new to the channel, welcome, consider subscribing, all that typical YouTuber BS. Let's do this. David Bowie, Space Odyssey. Yeah. Let's go. There's a music video. I hope that this video doesn't end up getting blocked because there's a music video. If it does, yeah, at least we'll do Heroes as well. Let's go. Ooh, the bass was really cool there.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom.
Oh, wow. Wait. I'm going to pause it. So sorry to pause it so early, but I really like the stereo sound where he has like two recordings of his voice coming through. Now we've got him doing a countdown over here. I like it so far. Let's keep going. It's building up.
Ground control to Major Tom. 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
Going up.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way.
Interesting video.
And the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can.
right. Just for good luck, make sure it doesn't get blocked. Let's go. Sorry.
I'm feeling very scared, and I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear? Am I floating on my tin can? Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do.
It's so cool. Holy cow. Dang, I didn't want that to end. Bowie, Space Oddity lyrics. There we go. Wow. That was definitely interesting. I really liked it. One thing that was interesting, obviously the whole thing was interesting, but one thing that really stuck out to me was how the entire song, we had 2 tracks playing. The entire song, right? And he had like different voices for the 2 characters as well. What happens after that? I'm going to assume that this ties into an album concept, maybe? Because it sounds like Major Tom may have gotten, may have had something bad happen. And Space Oddity makes it sound like, does he meet an alien or something? Interesting. The fact that I can mentally visualize this entire story as he sings it is crazy. Well, yeah. We'll all end up in Major Tom's world someday, he just went on ahead. I will be forever grateful to have lived in the same lifetime as Bowie. My mom's first crush was David Bowie, and 30 years after that, Bowie was my first crush. He is transcendent, he is timeless, and he will be forever missed. Yeah. He passed away not all that long ago, and he created an album, right? That's like the one thing I kind of knew was that he made an album right before he died with the knowledge that he was going to die soon. And so the album, which I think was called Black Star, is supposed to be a very interesting project. Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting comment. None of us live in the wrong generation. We live in a generation where we can replay this again and again and watch the video as much as we want, whenever we want. Bowie's not dead. He lives on Mars now. Yeah, wow, this was a very interesting song. I liked the video. It felt cool. All of it was cool. What a great that is a fantastic first impression. I love it. All right, thank you guys so much for the awesome recommendations. Major Tom is a fictional character created by David Bowie for this song in '69. That same year marked the first moon landing, so space was in. This was about a year after Stanley Kubrick, there we go. Kubrick's film 2001 A Space Odyssey, co-written with Arthur C. Clarke. The song is a lost in space story, which generated later more songs and sequels about the character by David Bowie, Ashes to Ashes and Hello Space Boy. Well, technically, I could just do those two next. And even other artists. Peter Schilling's 83 song Major Tom is Coming Home. Possibly Elton John's Rocket Man. Okay. Elton John's Rocket Man is also produced by Gus Dudgeon, who filled in for Bowie's usual collaborator, Tony Visconti, once he refused to work in Space Odyssey because he felt it was a novelty song. Okay. Well, okay. Many people believe that the song describes a drug trip from liftoff to floating to being still with the circuits dead, ending in nothing I can do. That's definitely one way to look at it. I kind of view it... I always believe in multiple interpretations, you know? Like, art eventually becomes more what people make of it than what the artist intended it to be. Not all art, but a lot of art ends up doing that. I watched a movie just the other day that was like a perfect example of that, actually. But I think the director intended it to be that way. So, yeah. Anyway. All right, let's take a look at the lyrics. So first, we got the instrumental introduction. Given Space Odyssey revolves around radio communication, it's appropriate that the song fades in, silence, then the receiver gets a faint signal, the acoustic guitar riff, which gets stronger, sparse bass, snare drum, and electric guitar until it gets good enough to transmit the vocals, with the stylophone helping it sound as if it's coming from a radio. And then it fades out. The signal gets so weak that the only response is silence, a mellotron playing a note that sounds like a deflating balloon. Add in the space nature, and the song feels like it's in orbit around the listener's location. So when it gets too far, the waves are unreachable. Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control is trying to make contact with Major Tom, the fictitious protagonist of the song. They are ensuring that he is prepared for liftoff. The constant affirmation of who is speaking to who sets in place one of the themes of the song, communication. The climax of the song takes place when communication is lost between Major Tom and ground control, which almost made, like, the song, I really liked the song because of the way it felt. Like, there was a sense of wonder to it, which I often do not feel about space-related media. A lot of science fiction is scary to me. You know, when I was younger, I would get scared of stuff about aliens or outer space. And now I still think it's interesting, but still, you know, there's a reason cosmic horror is one of my favorite types of horror, because of the crushing weight of the vastness of the cosmos, you know? So there are a few things, I think a couple sketches in like the Muppet Show, Star Wars, something like this, that gives me a little bit more of a positive feeling in regards to space exploration, you know? So it was interesting how the majority of the song felt that way, just taking in the wonder of space. But then by the end, there's a little bit of uncertainty in there. By the end, they lose communication, and it almost seems as though Major Tom may be in a lot of trouble. Who knows, though? Let's see. The name was allegedly inspired by a poster promoting Tom Major, a chamber musician and father of future Prime Minister John Major. Major Tom was a reoccurring character in several of David Bowie's songs, including Space Oddity, Ashes to Ashes, Hello Space Boy, new Killer Star, and the music video for Black Star. Take your protein pills. Put your helmet on. Astronaut food in the period was usually a convenient, if somewhat tasteless package, bordering pills akin to military rations. The headgear is one of the essential parts of an astronaut's suit. The neck parts prevent whiplash. Being airtight helps breathing remain normal, and the visor shields the eyes from sunlight, which hits even stronger without the atmosphere. Not to mention, there's extra protection from radiation. Then we've got ground control to Major Tom, commencing countdown, engines on, check ignition, and may God's love be with you. And while that's happening, there's a countdown going in the background. When rockets take off, a customary countdown is done as part of the procedure. In the video below, the NASA worker can be heard saying T-, with the T meaning minus, or time. The countdown also adds suspense and puts the listener into Major Tom's shoes as he is about to be blasted into space. These countdowns and checks are done to make sure everything is in order before takeoff. This portion of the song is merely a simplified version of what actually goes on in a rocket. Many acronyms are used to keep things concise and to keep the channels clear. For example, Delta Control, OSM, third stage, SNA, arm permit to closed. SSC, third stage, SNA, armed. Prop 1, vehicle fuel tank, press open. OSM means orbital service module. S&A is science and application. SSC is John C. Stennis Space Center, and prop would be propellant. Okay. Granted, a well-wishing message by truly concerned individuals. Still, this says, still, what does God have to do with space exploration? Obviously, it's an expression for the astronaut to be safe on his journey. And given how in the 60s some space missions couldn't even get off the ground, most notably the Apollo 1 destroyed during a 67 test, Mission Control has every reason to pray things go right. Outer space is another realm. Heaven is another realm in another dimension if it exists, for those who believe God is everywhere in heaven and on earth, and so one would imagine in outer space as well. Then we have the instrumental bridge. Once Major Tom lifts off, his travel to orbit is represented by spacey guitar riff played by Mick Wayne. Yeah, the spacey feel of the entire song is what the atmosphere it creates, is what really made this such an enjoyable experience. Also, the many different sections were fun, and when it went into just like the acoustic guitar playing, da, 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 clap, clap, I really liked that for some reason. It was a fun riff, and it added like a little change of pace, sped things up a little bit, then we went back down into the spacey feel of everything. Once he reaches space, the song goes from sparse instrumentation to being full-blown. A major addition is Mellotron by the then unknown Rick Wakeman. Holy cow, Rick Wakeman's on this. Let's go. Wakeman describes Space Odyssey as one of a half dozen occasions where it made the hair stand up on your neck and you know you're involved in something special. That is so awesome. Yes. All right, this is ground control to Major Tom. You really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. It's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. I'm floating in a most peculiar way. He says peculiar. He said it. Did he add like an extra syllable in there? Peculiar or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, and the stars look very different today. Bowie's voice raises as ground control contacts Major Tom again to convey the excitement of people on Earth working on the space mission to see it all went right and that their man is in orbit. A little premature irony as we learn as the rest of the story unfolds. Whoops. Making the grade, being successful, good enough, an endorsement, but not necessarily a full-hearted one. This is also implied in the following statement. Now it's time to leave the capsule. If you dare. Ground control wants Major Tom to know that he's famous. While this may be to make him feel good, it's also a satirical point by Bowie. Is asking him to endorse a shirt really the best question the media could come up with it for an astronaut? In 1975's song Fame, Bowie angrily attacked the music industry, especially his manager, for exploiting musicians' fame to make money. I want to hear that too now. Man. I'm excited for this. This is cool. This is good. A spacewalk was tiresome, uncomfortable, and risky with the resources used in the 60s. No wonder ground control says it would be very daring of Major Tom to perform the extravehicular activity. And floating in a most peculiar way. That and other lines led some people to believe that the song describes a trip while on drugs. David Bowie's follow-up song Ashes to Ashes lyrics may support this notion. Another way to view it is as an out-of-body experience that involves a sensation of floating outside one's body. Or like a disassociative feeling, I guess. Yeah. And in some cases, perceiving one's physical body from a place outside one's body. It may also refer to an inability to connect with others emotionally. He recorded the song one day after a breakup. Thus, this is the moment where he realizes he prefers not coming back. In another view, in the literal space context of the song, Major Tom is experiencing the unique effects of gravity for the first time. For the sake of accuracy, he's experiencing around 90% of the same force of gravity that we feel here on the surface. It just feels like nothing because he's in a free fall. The same way you feel weightless at the top of a swing. That's why they call it microgravity. Gravity? Gravity? That's why they call it microgravity in orbit instead of zero gravity. The stars look different. Yeah, that would be the one, I think, one of the coolest parts about being like an astronaut or whatnot, seeing the view. I feel like it would put things into context a little bit. One would imagine, given you've probably gotten a very different viewpoint of one of them. Oh yeah, so this is a response to the line. One would imagine so that you'd see the stars differently, especially without the light and air pollution of Earth that makes it difficult to see the stars in the sky. It also shares different meanings to Tom and Bowie, as Major Tom is in space and he can see the stars as far as they stretch. For Bowie, however, it takes on a subtly different meaning. The stars, or celebrities of which he is now one, look different when you are among them. He has seen the success, glamour, drugs, the downward spiral to which it can lead. Then we come to the chorus. For here I am, sitting in my tin can far above the world. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. This part was really cool as well. Like the change in pace for everything was very interesting. A space capsule is like a tin can, metallic and small, particularly when compared to the vastness of the space surrounding him. 67 saw the tragic death of one cosmonaut, Vladimir Komarov, and 3 astronauts, White, Grissom, and Chaffee, all died in their tin cans. The song has a sense of fatalism that capitalizes on the heady glory and deep tragedy of the early space program as an allegory to the private experience of a junkie. It is no lie that the can is really high over Earth, given how far out orbital distances are. Yeah. The Earth looks blue from space, probably because ocean occupies most of the Earth's surface. The secondary meaning of sadness could also fit. Earth is a sad place and Major Tom can't do anything about it. That's an interesting interpretation. I did not think of that. Also, when an astronaut is up in orbit, he looks at the planet where he spends his whole life and gets a feeling of helplessness. It looks so small, and he can just stare. Another way of seeing it is that humanity, with all of its progress and all its own overvaluation, is then reduced to only a small blue dot lost in the universe, and there's nothing that anyone can do. Yeah. That's what makes cosmic horror so scary. As stated by a Soviet cosmonaut, once during the mission I was asked by ground control what could I see. What do I see? I replied. Half a world to the left, half a world to the right. I can see it all. The Earth is so small. We come to that fun instrumental bridge. Then, though I'm past 100,000 miles, and I'm feeling very still, I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows. Ground control to Major Tom. Your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you... And then a repeat of the chorus and an instrumental outro. Yeah. Major Tom is well past Earth's atmosphere, which means there's nothing relative to his ship's movement, so it looks as if he's still. Major Tom's tin can is actually traveling really fast given it's rotating around the planet, but he doesn't actually feel the motion. And yet, rather than feeling paranoid and suspicious about his otherworldly adventure, he feels calm. Simple. If he is lost while spacewalking, the popular belief is that Major Tom decided on his own to break contact from ground control and continue on his own. Later in Ashes to Ashes, David Bowie confirms that Major Tom is still alive, surviving his space odyssey or drug trip. Ashes to Ashes. Funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low. Wow. Interesting. I wonder if that was the original intention of the song. Kitty, are you down here? Yes, you are. You're just gonna sit there looking at me? All right. Following the philosophical doctrine of fatalism, from Major Tom's perspective, the outcome of his trip is predestined. Major Tom doesn't need to steer the spaceship because fate will take him wherever the universe has fated him to be. Or maybe at that moment he feels better there and he lets his ship follow the path that it is leading no matter what. Then tell my wife I love her very much. Then she knows. I feel like that might be ground control talking, saying she knows. I think it was in the other ear. Major Tom is here acknowledging that he will probably never return to Earth. Otherwise, he would tell her himself. This is the last message for people on Earth. In Elton John's Rocket Man, the line, "I miss the Earth so much I miss my wife," makes some people think that it's a parallel or a complementary song to Space Odyssey. They share the same producer. That would be interesting. And now I want to listen to those songs back to back. I feel like that would be a fun experience. I encourage you guys to try that out too if you've never done it before. I don't know which one I would start with. Maybe the Elton John song, because that's... Maybe not, actually. Wait. No, both of them start with the setup and the lifting off. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd figure it out. I could try it both ways. I like both songs a lot. All right. Chris Hadfield, Canadian astronaut, recorded his version and sung it while in space. Wow. Bowie himself approved this version and helped with all the copyright issues. Holy cow, that's really cool. I'm not going to play it here, but I just want to click on it. This has 49 million views. Chris is so focused on his music career that he trained for years to become a qualified astronaut just to film this music video. Wow. I kind of want to watch this. Maybe I'll react to it at some point. I don't know. Well, let's continue. He omits the last lyrics where everything goes wrong. All right, so then we've got your circuit's dead. Astronauts communicate with Earth via a radio circuit, and Major Tom's ship is no longer transmitting his signal. He could still be receiving incoming transmissions if the receiver is still functional from ground control. Another dead circuit. There's something wrong. For both astronaut and ground control, being unable to communicate is the worst thing possible, even if the failure is temporary, in an oddly prescient way. Apollo 11 had a misfire in its emergency systems approaching the moon. In addition to David Bowie's own follow-ups, one that made it to the charts was by German Peter Schilling, Major Tom Coming Home, where the outcome was very different from the originals. Now the light commands, "This is my home. I'm coming home." Can you hear me? Ground control has lost contact. He will never be brought back safely, and they may have lost him to outer space forever. I'm saying may. All these comments say they have lost him to outer space forever. Then you've got the chorus again. The astronaut is floating away from the moon in a direction which leads him further and further away from Earth. Earth looks so far away that it merely looks like a blue circle in space from where he is. But he's helpless and unable to return, destined to die in space many miles from Earth. He could be seen as well, enjoying the feeling of detachment as a form of liberation. Even if his life is in danger and is at risk of dying, he could be enjoying that precise moment. Then we have an instrumental outro. And the end of it made me think that he's like, I don't know, captured by aliens or something. Given Space Odyssey revolves around radio communication, it is appropriate that the song fades in and then fades out. The signal gets weak, that its only response is silence, Mellotron playing a note that sounds like a deflating balloon. And then you add in the space nature. Yeah. I guess I already read that. All right. That is David Bowie, Space Odyssey. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys soon. It's very late. I need to stop making videos now. Deathstroke 9, out. Thank you for watching.